Happy New Year, everyone. This is my first video I'm recording in January 1st of 2024. Hopefully this new year will be productive for all of us and happy, and we won't be annihilated in nuclear warfare and whatnot. I'm gonna be giving you my review of Sharpe episode 2 of season 1. I almost felt the urge to spend money I really don't want to spend, because I saw that they remastered Sharpe into 1080p, but it's in region 2, and I can get them used on eBay. I think it was like for $50 or something like that for most of the series. I still might do it because I like having my I have DVD scans and I have some TV rips of the show that I DVR'd via my Plex, and I have some DVD rips from a couple used DVDs I found. But I like having high def and having the subtitles and things like that, so I can get really what they're saying and all that. Anyway, so let's get right into this. This is based on Sharpe's eagle. The reference of an eagle is to the pendant, the symbol pendant of the French, which is on a kind of like on a spear shaft, an eagle pendant, and the French armies carried in battle. And the armies back then all had their flag or their pendant or whatever, or their symbol that they carried. There was a flag bearer, a pendant bearer, and he was protected by a special guard, and his job was to advance that with the troops to symbolize that the king or the premier or whoever was advancing with the troops, and losing was considered dishonorable. Like usually there was an officer who was specially in charge of the pendant bearer, and dishonorable to the point where you will be either checkered out of the military or even expected to self terminate. So that's kind of what the title is a reference to, and as well as the plot of the episode. So let's get right into this. This is a direct follow up to Sharpe's rifles. Sharpe is now in command of his squad. He's good with his squad. Harrison's become his right hand man as his sergeant. This is basically, I don't know if it's meant to be a direct sequel, like a day later or whatever. But Sharpe opens. So here's a complaint about. It's almost gonna become a running joke, okay? Like Sharpe's knee. I wonder if when the actual big time fans of this have that joke, like, oh, it's Sharpe's knee again, Like Sharpe started with he had a leg injury previous to the first episode, right? From the past that's in the books that wasn't in the TV show. He gets a leg injury in the episode. He opens with another leg injury where he's not supposed to walk for a week. Then he gets a leg injury later on again, So I'm beginning to wonder if Sharpe's knee is a running joke for the fan base, right? And that's probably the most unbelievable element because the one thing they mess up with this show, remember I talked about in the first episode that it was kind of blocky, like there was a chunk of whatever happened, and then there was another chunk of what happened, and the passage in between just seemed like they stopped scene and started filming the next one. They were like cut scenes almost, and they didn't give a great sense. Like you know logically that some amount of time, like for example, in the beginning of this episode, logically almost a week must have passed from when Sharpe first woke up with the maggots having cleaned the rot out of his knee wound, and then him going on the mission he went on, because he could barely walk. He had an open wound on his knee, and there's no way he could physically do what he did for the rest of the episode if that did not heal up enough. As I said, a week of rest, right? So, but they don't depict that. You get the impression from the way the director cut it, and filmed it, that Sharpe got up from his knee injury, and like the next day or two was already back at fully active capacity. We were told he wasn't, but we know time must have occurred. It's just I'm willing to bet that there was a longer script. Maybe they filmed a few more scenes, and again, to keep this under a certain amount of time, they cut out. And I think so far through the first two episodes, I think that's going to be a running theme, at least so far, where they either filmed more or wrote more and didn't film it. That would provide better transition and better timing between the scenes. This does not mean these are bad. I enjoyed that first episode more than most things I've watched, other than like 30 Coins, I guess. In recent times, I was into it. And same thing with the second episode. I was into it. There was yeah, again, no negative, no point where I was like cringy or whatever. So you know, there are flaws, but they're flaws that don't make you lose interest. I like the acting relationship between Sean Bean and let me get his name correct, the guy who plays Harris, Harper rather, Dara O'Malley. I like they have a good working relationship between, as a lieutenant and his right hand man sergeant. I like Brian Cox, a long accomplished actor. You know, as Major Hogan. He's been in quite a few other things if you've seen him around. Major Hogan's like the slimy intelligence colonel who accomplishes dirty deeds. He played Agamemnon in Troy, as an example. He's Stryker in one of the X-Men movies that Stryker was in. What else? I think he was in Doctor Who. I'm trying to remember. Was it the Fifth Doctor, Davison, or was it? Oh God. Yeah, it's just so. There's so much stuff the guy's been. He's been acting for like 40 years. Maybe longer. He was in the Nuremberg, not the original one from the 50s or 60s, but the one they did in in 1990s. He was in that. He was in Rob Roy as Killeran, and the Doctor Who. Who was he in Doctor Who? I remember him being in. I just can't remember. I just can't remember who he played, but he was in a Doctor Who episode. Why did? Anywho, not to belabor the point. Okay, the reason I chose the scene here, I gather from looking at outlines of events that this character may be returned once or twice, but I really like the sort of work I like these two characters together, which is obviously Sharpe and the British royalist American, who's kind of bitter about stuff, but has a sense of honor. I kind of like him. So I have of course I've freeze framed on Hogan, Major Hogan on the bottom here. The slimy guy who gets things done, so to speak. And what else? Anything before I do my skim through the episode? Some pretty cool battles that I'll talk more about when we get to some. If I catch the scenes well, I'll talk more about that. More about the politics of the Spanish Civil War, not the Spanish Civil War rather, the Napoleonic Wars as they rage across Spain. That was always pretty cool, and the whole interplay with the rear echelon motherfucker colonel, who had his unit that he was abusing and making ineffective. His story arc was really cool. That guy's a really good actor. He's been in a lot of stuff too. So I like that. I liked his story arc. So let's get into it. This is our flashback to what Sharpe was doing. This is Sharpe with the knee injury that Harper is going to shave him because he thinks teasing him or whatever. So this is them discussing the arrival of Colonel Essex or Smelix or whatever his name is. I'll get his name for you. Colonel Simerson, played by Michael Cochran, another great actor. So he is as I said, a real echelon motherfucker. He has political connections, and all his officers are like that. They're all crappy officers. Well, except for this guy, the one guy I showed you there. They're all crappy officers. And the other guy, another major who was pulled out of retirement, who Sharpe knows, who was a decorated veteran from the India campaigns, where Sharpe knew him. And he mistrains his troops with excessive beatings and not adequate actual skill training. His troops basically over drill, and he's your classic horrible officer, right? So they know that, right? Wellesley and Hogan know that, so they're setting it up so that give him an opportunity to fail himself or succeed himself out of their hair, right? So either he fails in the mission they're sending, right, or in which case he'll get humiliated out of the way, or succeed and get promoted out of the way. They don't want him involved in their campaign because he's too much. He has enough political clout to make their lives difficult. Right? Not as much as Wellesley does, of course. And their plan basically is to use Sharpe to sort of undermine him in a way, with Sharpe's sense of honor and all that. That's them plotting pretty good. His nose is like a beak of a nose. That's an interesting point of view we get. So, she is a Spanish noblewoman, and she is poor, and she has two handmaidens, right? So when you're a woman in that old world, and your body is a tool, right? I don't mean in the sense that you trade your body for wealth or whatever, in a way most people think like prostitution, but the reality is she has like lower class women have just their body, upper class women have their body and their position, right? So these guys are so interesting because they won't have to choose to marry them, so they can gain the title, and their children will have her title, so to speak. And they can bring the wealth that she needs to restore her family's position properly, which is classic political marriage. Maybe a poorer but higher-ranking noble might marry a second son from a lower-ranking wealthy house, trying them together economically, getting a wealth input, and both families benefit out of it or whatever. That's kind of that interplay. And her handmaidens, since they're just poor low-class women, have to basically give up their body, and they're doing that relatively happily. They don't play. They're not played as being forced in an uncomfortable way. So we'll see. So this scene here, Wellesley being, Sharpe's getting his gear together. Harper's helping him. Hogan knows Sharpe is injured a little, and he's set him off basically. There's Wellesley with his group. So the two on the left are basically goons who are just as incompetent as Wellesley. The guy on the right is the American expatriate. If I had the high-res version, you'd be able to see his face clearly. Sorry about that, guys. And the guy in the back is the retired major who's an elite military officer. So Hogan is setting Sharpe up on the mission, telling him what's going on, and getting a sense that Wellesley is being set up to fail without saying so many words because he can't undermine the high-ranking officer. And Sharpe's squad, the chosen, are basically out cavorting, getting their soldiery thing off. The standard sort of thing, as you might, real world thing. Now this is a cool scene, right? So this is Sharpe having gotten Harper, having read his men in riot act, and now he was a bad cop. Now his man Harper is going to be kind of the not so bad cop and get the men organized and ready for marching in the morning. And you notice Harper, his knee is miraculously all better, right? So and it's been 21 minutes, so we know, even though it looks like the scenes are all adjacent to the last two, there must have been like a couple of days off somewhere in here for his knee to be that much better. And I like this scene because the arrogant officers don't presume that the man in account of them is another officer, and they try to challenge Sharpe, and this leads to a challenge. And Sharpe, at one point, he goes to Sharpe, "You're not going to do him tomorrow because Sharpe is a killer. He'll kill you." Sharpe is heading on his way. This guy looks to pick a fight with Sharpe. Sharpe pulls him off the horse. Just heads on his way, doesn't think much of it. Pulls his gun, totally murks the dude. And this is the Scottish major who had retired, and Sharpe rebonding over their shared military history. And this is Hogan basically telling Wellesley and the men that Sharpe will kill his dude, Stone Cold dead. You don't want to duel him and all that. Sharpe's assessing the troops. That's one of the big things. He commands this troop. He eventually gains full command of the troop when he gets promoted to captain. This is him helping them train to learn to fire much faster. And this comes out because the French, the way it's set up in the show, which I'm sure Cornwell knew because he's a very accurate with his historical research. The French advanced in these waves, and this was how it was back then. Like armies, if you read the books about their depictions, they didn't like modern soldiers for the past 150 years, basically since like maybe sometime after the Civil War, but before World War One, they actually crawled forward, used the cover, aimed more carefully. Whereas back then they were still using the march in formation from the days when they had swords and shields and spears, and there's a degree to which that's true because most of them firing either muskets or like rifle, the version of a rifle that doesn't have a bullet. I can't remember the name of it, right? And so the training method here of being able to fire fast enough to cut down the French as they advance in line ranks before they get to you makes sense, right? The battles in Sharpe are fairly well depicted, even for the fact the actors are being told don't stab the guy, don't really hurt the guy, whatever. But they do good depictions of how the scrum would have occurred and all that, and way better than anything modern. So this is Sharpe helping at the time, and the colonel saw the men being trained effectively for a change, and they're gaining respect for Sharpe. And now this is Sharpe and his men kind of showing off. This is a bit of a sort of humor bit where they show off a bit of their advanced skills for this part. Pretty good. Now this part is interesting. The men are looting basically, and they're under orders from the king not to loot, and Wellesley not to loot their allies. That's a big particular thing. Turns out that this guy is a undercover sort of gun runner for the local Spanish resistance force, and this is when they hook up with the woman from the last episode, and the plots begin to converge again. So, and then these are the two evil lieutenants constantly plotting how to get Sharpe, and, there's a duel that they're going to set him up with a duel by basically assaulting the woman who is now under his protection, which is that Spanish chick, right? And once they do that, Sharpe has to challenge them to regain his honor back. Well, he wants to challenge to kill them, right? And but Wellesley has banned dueling, and so Sharpe will be executed if he engages in a duel. So what happens is Hogan sends Sharpe on a mission, but puts one of the guys on there and tells Harper what's going on, and the guy gets, it's just this show is so masterful to show how you would deal with this stuff, how the soldiers actually do deal with this stuff. And if you don't think that's real, I want to tell you a story from my grandfather. Okay, my grandfather was a sergeant. He started as a private, advanced into like the second highest rank of a sergeant in World War II. He was the only guy who went on, I think, on the second wave of Normandy, and he's the only person in his company who went on the beaches who survived the entirety of World War II, right? So, and he was telling me a story about he got a lieutenant was assigned to his platoon, which is, I think it's lieutenant to platoon, right? And instead of doing what you're supposed to do, which is you divide the men up on each side of the road, they go into the furrow and cover and advance in pairs up the side, right? So they can't be taken out by guys with machine guns shooting down the middle of the road and all that, or easily by artillery. This idiot lieutenant had the men marching in column down the middle of the road, got a lot of them shut up. My grandfather said if that lieutenant hadn't been killed when he got shut up, we were gonna kill him, right, for what he did to us that day. So there are ways that the soldiers will deal with this stuff, and this show depicts it fairly well. This is the major dying. This is where again you get some nifty politics here. Okay, so this guy, they lost the king's banner, and under what's his name, Commander, the bad commander, Simerson. So he was the commander controlling the king's banner. He lost it by his ineffectual command. The French got it. So this guy who was defending the banner when Simerson ran away. It's like I need the eagle to regain my honor, and Sharpe makes him a promise, and the lieutenant, the American lieutenant, and another lieutenant from the Fighting Essex or whatever they are, hear it, and then the American lieutenant says, "No, you didn't hear any such promises at all. Forget it ever happened," because he knows that sort of promise. You can't promise that. You can't. Like it's hard to explain without bogging the whole video down, but Sharpe, as a matter of honor, does, and then even Wellesley's like, you can't do this. So he wants to promote a captain, but he can't be doing for a personal promise. He can't, right? So he can't fulfill the promise because it'll be a personal thing and put aside professionalism and whatever. But then again, Hogan sets it up where Sharpe could fulfill both his obligation as an officer and his promise by capturing the eagle to ascertain his promotion with such a great victory that allows him the right to dispose of it, and he does to put it on Hogan on the dude's grave. So the show is really well written, and you enjoy it. I'm not so yeah. I know I'm spoiling the whole episode or whatever. So what? Go watch it anyway. It is that good. I'm gonna watch this again probably after I'm all done. I'll probably watch the series again like sometime early next year. At least parts of it. It is so enjoyable to watch a show that shows you things but doesn't preach at you. You know, and I'm not trying to complain and say, well, that's because they're not showing leftist stuff. I watch, you know, shows with left-leaning stuff in it, and, you know, they'll just show the example, you know, and let you make a choice. And instead, there's none of this sort of preachy, you're wrong if you don't feel like this, and none of that. And this show is just wholesomely good, you know, in the sense that it's there, it has its message, but its main thing is to tell you a story and let you just see the honor of the characters versus other characters who aren't honorable, and make your choice. That's what we think about them. So this is the meeting where they're certain what happened at the battlefield where they lost the pendant, and you know, this is where Sharpe gets his promotion, dishonorment, and this is where Sharpe finds out they're going to try to kill him, stab him in the back, like I mentioned before. This is them telling the colonel it's set in motion. Yeah. So, again, just like I said, and this is the battle. Now, Sharpe is in command of this unit, and the men are well trained and firing, so he's going to have them cut down the French while he and the chosen men, the advanced special forces guys, advance around from the side and cut into them when they've been broken, and they can cut them apart with rifle fire and hand-to-hand combat. And this, as pedantic as it is, this is how battles were back then. They were just marching in place and with in rows and just shooting each other down in rows and standing there. At some point, I probably have to do some research. I know it was like after the Civil War and before World War One that the transition began to occur. When they realized modern weapons required, you couldn't just stand there like that because you would just get machine gunned down en masse. Yep. And so they're firing three, but they're firing 3 shots per minute. They're trying to get 4 off to really do damage to the French. Sharpe captures the eagle. You know, also, this Hogan saying Sharpe did good, and this is Sharpe talking, and you know the romantic element, and then Sharpe brings the eagle to the retired major's gravesite. So that's basically your episode. It's really good, as I said. I keep saying over and over again. You'll find yourself wanting to watch, even though it's 2 hours or an hour and 40 minutes or whatever. You'll find yourself not wanting to take a break. You want to watch the whole thing through. Whereas a lot of these modern TV shows, you watch it for 20 minutes, you have to take a mental break to get even when it's good. You'll take a break because they interject something stupid in it. You know. In any case, my name is Matt. This has been Unbearable 73's review of Sharpe's Eagle. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. Happy New Year. Comment down below any questions about this, or any criticisms or whatever. Have a nice day and a Happy New Year.